Hi, I'm JP Murrieta with the New Mexico Activities Association. Year in and year out, it seems like there's some confusion or misunderstanding on how the seeding and selection process works. This video is designed to help you understand how the teams get seeded for the state championships. There's a misconception that the NMAA has input or bias with the seeding and selection to the state tournament. There is no input given by any NMAA staff member. Let me repeat that. There is no input given by the NMAA. Teams don't get seeded higher or lower because you think we like that school or don't like another school. That's not how it works. Here is the criteria used by the NMAA to determine the seeding and selection. This criteria was voted on by the member schools. We look at a team's finish in regular season district play. We make head-to-head comparisons against schools. We look at wins against district champions regardless of class. A team's overall record, or rather their win percentage, is another element of criteria, as well as the school's max preps ranking. The final criteria is member school input, or a coach's form submitted to the NMAA before the seeding process begins. All of this criteria is data-driven. We are using numbers and numbers only to seed and select. Not one of the criteria is more important than another. For example, head-to-head does not weigh more in determining a seed than overall record. If there is a tie between two schools with criteria points, then head-to-head will be used. If there's no head-to-head competition or the head-to-head is tied, then the max preps ranking will be used to break the tie. Here's how the process works. First, we receive the district placement form from the district chairperson. We get this form from every single district. The district chair will write down who finished first, second, third, etc. This is very important. In seeding and selection, a team cannot be seeded or selected in front of another team that finished above them in the district standings. Here's an example. If one school finished second in the regular season and another school finished third in the regular season, the third place team cannot be seeded ahead of the second place team. The member schools and commission and board of directors wanted to put importance on the district season. So you can't be seated above someone that finished higher. Now, in the event of a tie in the regular season district standings, the NMAA staff may use the 6 criteria points or any other head-to-head competition to determine the seeding and selection order between the two teams that are tied. After we get the district placement forms, then we receive the school input forms. These are filled out from the coach from each school. We request them from every school, whether they think they will make the postseason or not. It's very important all coaches submit this form because it has an effect on seeding and selection. Once we get these forms, the votes are tabulated by putting them into a matrix or a spreadsheet that looks like this. All the teams are listed vertically and horizontally. Now, this is an example from the 2019 boys basketball seeding for Class 5A. Volcano Vista submitted their member school input form. They voted Las Cruces first, Volcano Vista second, Rio Rancho third, etc., etc. So Las Cruces gets 16 points, Volcano Vista gets 15 points, Rio Rancho gets 14 points, etc., etc., all the way down their rankings. The last team on a coach's input form would get 1 point. We go to another school that submitted their form. Carlsbad listed Volcano Vista first, Las Cruces second, Rio Rancho third, etc., down their poll and ranking. So Volcano Vista gets 16 points, Las Cruces gets 15 points, Rio Rancho gets 14 points, and all the way down. We then add up all the points for every school that submitted a form, and the school with the most amount of points becomes number 1 in the coaches poll. The team with the second most points becomes number 2 in the coaches ranking, etc., etc. So that's how we determine where a team ranks when it comes to coaches' input. As you can see, there are some blank columns. There are schools that don't submit a form. If coaches don't send in these forms, it can be greatly affected where a team might be seated. So make sure, if you're a coach, you get in that form. The district placement forms are in, the member school input forms are in. We are ready to begin the seeding and selection process. Let's start with two schools. How about we compare Las Cruces and Rio Rancho? Here's a look at the 6 criteria points we use to evaluate the seeds. The first criteria looked at is finish in regular season district play. Las Cruces finished first, and Rio Rancho did not win their district. So Las Cruces gets a point over Rio Rancho. Next is head-to-head. They didn't play each other, so no point for either team. Next, we measure up wins versus district champs. And when I say wins against district champions, remember, it does not matter the class. Las Cruces could beat a district champ from El Paso, and we would count that. Rio Rancho could beat a district champ from Class 3A, and we would count that. Now, Las Cruces had 1 win against a district champ. Rio Rancho had 6, so Rio Rancho gets a point there. Next is overall record, or their win percentage. Las Cruces is unbeaten at 28-0. They obviously had a better overall record, so they get a point over Rio Rancho. Then we move on to the Max Preps ranking, and we get the Max Preps rankings the morning of seeding and selection. Max Preps had Las Cruces higher in their ranking, so Las Cruces gets another point. Finally, we compare the coach's input form, which I showed you with that matrix. Las Cruces was higher on the coach's input, so they get another point. As you can see, Las Cruces earned a total of 4 points when matched up against Rio Rancho. The overall score was 4-1. So, Las Cruces must be seeded higher than Rio Rancho. That's how it works. We do this for every team, comparing one to the other. Now let's take a look at one more example. Let's pair up Las Cruces and Volcano Vista from the 2019 season. The first criteria point is district finish. Las Cruces finished first, and Volcano Vista finished first. Neither school gets a point there. Next, we look at head-to-head. They didn't play each other, so neither school gets a point there. Next, wins against district champions. In this case, Las Cruces had 1 win against a district champ. Volcano Vista had wins against 3 district champs. Volcano Vista gets a point for that criteria. Next is overall record. Las Cruces gets a point on that criteria. The next criteria is Max Preps ranking. Max Preps had Volcano Vista 1 and Las Cruces 2, so Volcano Vista gets a point for that criteria. And the last criteria we look at is the coach's input forms, which we discussed earlier. They have Las Cruces number 1 and Volcano Vista number 2, so Las Cruces would get that point. Now that leaves 2 points for Las Cruces and 2 points for Volcano Vista. As we said at the beginning of this video, if there is a tie between 2 schools with criteria points, then head-to-head will be used. If there is no head-to-head competition or the head-to-head is tied, then the Max Preps ranking will be used to break that tie. Las Cruces and Volcano Vista didn't play each other, so then Max Preps is used to break the tie. And as we mentioned, Max Preps had Volcano Vista 1 and Las Cruces ranked 2, so Volcano Vista will then be seeded ahead of Las Cruces. Again, this is all data-driven. There is no opinionated input, no bias. It's all based on those 6 criteria points. Now, sometimes it gets a little tricky. Let's say, for example, there's a 3-way tie. Here's another example from a couple years back in softball. Miyamura beat Bernalillo in criteria points 3-2. Los Lunas beat Miyamura in criteria points 4-2. But Bernalillo beat Los Lunas in criteria points 3-2. So which school gets seeded above the other? There is a way to determine it. Again, it's all based on the numbers. We use the 6 criteria points with all 3 schools. So let's go through this. First criteria point, finish in district play. Los Lunas finished 2nd in their district, Miyamura finished 3rd, and Bernalillo was a district champ. Now to simplify, we rank the 3 schools, 1, 2, 3. So as you can see by this 1 criteria point, since we are ranking them, a team will win the 3-way tie with the lowest total points. Next is head-to-head. In head-to-head wins against the 3 schools, Los Lunas beat Miyamura and Bernalillo didn't play either school, so again, we issue 1 point for Los Lunas, 2 for Bernalillo, and 3 for Miyamura. Next criteria point is wins against district champions. Los Lunas beat 3 district champions, Miyamura beat 2, and Bernalillo beat 1. Therefore, Los Lunas won that category, so we put a 1 next to them. Miyamura gets a 2 and Bernalillo a 3. Next is overall record, and Los Lunas had a win percentage of .615. Miyamura 720 and Bernalillo 880. Since Bernalillo had the best overall record, we put a 1 next to them. Then it's Miyamura 2 and Los Lunas 3. In the Max Preps ranking, Miyamura was ranked 5th, Bernalillo 6th, and Los Lunas 7th. So the order of points is 1 for Miyamura, 2 for Bernalillo, and 3 for Los Lunas. In the coach's input, they had Los Lunas ranked 5th, Miyamura 6th, and Bernalillo 7th. So Los Lunas is a 1, Miyamura 2, and Bernalillo 3. To break the tie, we add up all the points in the 6 criteria, and as you can see, Los Lunas had 11, Bernalillo with 12, and Miyamura with 13. Now remember, in breaking a tie, the smallest amount of points is the winner. So Los Lunas, with the smallest amount of points in this particular tiebreaker, would be seated above Miyamura and Bernalillo. Now since Los Lunas will be seated above the other schools, we can now take them out of the equation. Now we have Miyamura and Bernalillo. We compare them against each other on their own. Since Miyamura beat Bernalillo against each other on the 6 criteria points, Miyamura has to be seated above Bernalillo. That's how you break a 3-way tie. Now there are some situations in a 3-way tie when 2 schools have the same amount of points. For example, schools 1 and 2 have 12 points and school 3 has 14 points. Well, we can't take school 1 or 2 out because the 2 top teams are tied. So in this situation, we take out school number 3 since they would have the most points in a 3-way comparison. Once we take them out, remember, they can't be seated above school 1 or school 2. Then we would compare school number 1 with school number 2 to determine who would be seated above the other. So, as you can see, as we go through all the criteria points in seating and selection, everything is data driven. There is no bias, no opinion, no input given by the NMAA. When people question why one school was seated above another, it all comes down to the numbers. You have to go back to the 6 criteria points and compare each school against the other in all classification. Every seating and selection position is justified by the data. Feel free to reach out for any further clarification or questions. Thank you for watching. Good evening and welcome to the Seating and Selection Show for the Rudy's Real Texas Barbecue State Volleyball Championships. This is where we announce the teams and matchups and break down the bracket a little bit. But before we get started, how about a little roll call? I know the St. Pius Sartans are out there watching. The Artesia Bulldogs have a little get-together down south. Hatch Valley, yeah, I see you out there. Tularosa, you are on the reservation list as well. We have your table just about ready, so be patient. Floyd is checking this one out to see where they fit in. St. Michael's and Socorro, thanks for both joining us on this one. I know they're both excited. David Martin and the Oñate Knights told us they are out there watching. I'll bet they're anxious to see where they land. The Portales Rams are having a party. Why wasn't I invited? Well, enjoy it without me. I had to be here and deliver all the news, right? Remember, this is a new format this year. There's no more pool play in this tournament. This is a double elimination bracket. Also, on Championship Saturday, there will be multiple title games being played at the same time to create more of a festive environment and atmosphere. Should be a lot of fun. You are all watching this show to find out who's in, what seed you got, who you'll play. But before we get to that, let's review the seeding process so there's no confusion. The following criteria is used to determine a team's seed. This criteria was voted on by the member schools. We look at finish in regular season district play, head-to-head matchups, wins against district championship teams regardless of class, overall record, max preps rankings, and member school input. That's the coach's input and ranking. There is no input given by the NMAA. Everyone say it with me now, I'm listening. No input by the NMAA. It's all data driven. There is no bias for or against any school or team. You may have seen the instructional video demonstrating the entire process, so there should be no confusion on how your school received the seeding they did. The process is spelled out with the criteria points that was voted on by the member schools. Now, this is also important. Everyone listen up. Volleyball has been a 12-team bracket for over 10 years now. The coaches asked to go to 12 teams, and it's been that way for a while. Since there are only 12 slots, some teams might be on the outside looking in. A team with, let's say, a higher max preps ranking or coaches' input might not make it into the bracket if another team earned an automatic spot by winning their district or winning their district tournament. Does that make sense? Sometimes there are only so many seats at the table, right? Well, let's get to it. Enough of my talking about the introduction and the seating criteria and everything. You're here to see the brackets, right? Well, we will start with Class 1A, and the top team is Melrose. They were last year's state runner-up and come into the tournament this year with a perfect 19-0 record led by head coach Casey Jackson. Last year, Melrose was just 2 points shy of lifting the state volleyball championship for the second straight year, so 2 points has been their battle cry. Melrose hasn't lost since that match. This year's Melrose squad has 5 returning starters from last season and 7 more who saw significant playing time. A lot of them have been playing varsity since the 8th grade or freshman year, so they have plenty of experience there. Let's look at the top 4 in this class who all get a first round bye. The 2 seed is the Melrose rival Logan. Then it's Pine Hill and Camado. These teams will not play their first game until Thursday afternoon. Now, Pine Hill is one of those teams making some noise this year. They come into the tournament with an eye-popping 20-1 record, the best in school history.
We feel like this is our best team, and this is our chance.
Pine Hill volleyball coach Carlette Daniels has reason to be optimistic. The Warriors put together their best season ever.
This season has been amazing, and it's been fun, and it's been challenging.
From like last year to this year, it's kind of a cool transformation.
They come into the state tournament with one of the best records of any team in any class.
This year we're expected to be there. We want that, and we went on a drought for about 20 years from our last district championship, and we won one last year.
With more wins and more success comes even more fan support.
It's honestly kind of like cool. It's like amazing.
The community is excited. We generally had our big our fan base was in basketball, and so we're starting to have people follow us in volleyball, and it's something to be excited for.
Last season, Pine Hill reached the state tournament and picked up a first-round win, but lost in the quarterfinals.
We have a lot of girls on the team that were there with us last year at state, and so when we get there this year, I think we kind of just know how to put it together more, and so I think we'll be better prepared to maybe go on to the next round or go even further.
We're talking about grades, we're talking about practice, we're talking about all those little things to help us so we can focus and maybe do well at the state tournament.
Watch out for Pine Hill. They just might surprise some people. Now let's take a look at the rest of the bracket. Carrizozo and Evangel Christian will square off in the opening round, with the winner moving on to meet Melrose. Floyd is the 5 against Santa Fe Waldorf. Tatum is 6, and we'll see Cimarron in the opening round. Fort Sumner is 7, and Des Moines the 10 seed. Let's break down a couple things. Santa Fe Waldorf, Des Moines, they both earned automatic spots as regular season district champs. Now Cimarron won the district tournament, so Santa Fe Waldorf, Des Moines, and Cimarron all get into the field. That leaves one last spot between Evangel Christian and Animas. Let's compare these two based on the criteria. Evangel Christian was higher in max preps rankings. Animas was higher in coach's input. Evangel Christian had the better overall record. District finish was even. Neither had wins against district champs or head-to-head, so Evangel Christian was better than Animas by a score of 2-1 in the criteria voted on by the member schools. So Evangel Christian gets in ahead of Animas. Moving on to Class 2A, it shouldn't be much of a surprise. The Texaco Wolverines are number 1. They've won state titles in each of the last 5 years. Head coach Kristen Scanlon has that program running like clockwork. They are riding a 9-match win streak. Texaco is number 1. Here's a look at the first 4. Dulce is the 2 seed. Hagerman earned a 3, and Pecos is 4. Pecos only has 4 losses on the year, but 3 of them are to top seed Texaco. Now getting back to Dulce. Dulce reached the state final last season for the first time in school history. They are hoping this year to take one more step and claim that top prize. In 2018, the Dulce volleyball program made school history, reaching the state final for the first time ever.
We still have that dream to get into that championship game this year, and the dream is to win it, not come in second.
Dulce lost to eventual state champ Texaco, but the Hawks returned virtually everyone from last year's runner-up team.
We're kind of small, but we're strong. When we're all doing our job on the court, we're pretty special.
Dulce is having a great season, and the experience of last year's state tournament should help them this time around.
It showed us what to expect. Seeing the teams that how hard they work just to get there. We're capable of doing the same as them.
We have experience, so we know what to expect now. So we won't be so nervous, or we'll be ready.
They actually feel how it is to win and to feel the praise and the love and just the support that our community has been giving them since end of last season.
Kathleen Salazar Valdez is in her 17th year as head coach. She describes this team as smart and quick with some power. And that's where senior middle hitter Caitlin Duncan comes in.
She has so much hang time that she could look everywhere on the court before she could make the choice of what she wants to do. When we travel, young ladies seek her out, so it's just awesome to see that, they're more role models now, and it's great that little girls come up and ask for autographs or just ask to hold her towel. It's just so cute, and it's something I wanted for my program, more role models and supporting the youth.
Could this be the year for Dulce? What would it mean to finally lift that blue trophy?
That would be something. Be the first ever to do it. That'd be literally a dream come true.
If these girls go and play and bring that blue trophy back, it'll mean everything. I may even resign. End on a high note.
Here's the bracket for Class 2A. Monte del Sol and Peñasco will go head-to-head on the opening day of the tournament. Mescalero is the 5 and will take on Estancia. Coronado is a 6 and will meet Magdalena. Eunice is a 7 going up against Desert Academy. Now, Estancia earned their spot with a district tournament championship win. Desert Academy was a regular season district champ after winning their playoff. So those were 2 automatic spots in the bracket. Cloudcroft and Santa Rosa didn't get in because of some of those other automatic qualifiers we talk about. Again, only 12 spots in the bracket. Class 3A, you are up next. The top honor goes to the Tularosa Wildcats. Tularosa racked up a nice 19-2 record this season. They lost some seniors last year and weren't sure how this season would shake up, but turned out well enough to earn a #1 seed.
Honestly, I was a little worried, but after July and seeing what happened in July in the preseason, I knew that we were gonna be all right.
It's been a lot better than expected, honestly. Losing those seniors, we didn't think we were gonna be as good as we were last year, but honestly, we exceeded many expectations, and I think we're honestly more competitive than we were last year. Last year's team, we were good, but we didn't play as well together as this year's team does. We had very talented girls last year, but we are just as talented this year, and I feel like we can go farther than we ever have.
Here's a look at the top 4 teams. Robertson is the 2 seed, Hatch Valley the 3, and St. Michael's the 4. I know those watch parties just got a little loud, right? Hope you're taking a picture of the screen with your phone to document the moment. If you didn't, get out your phone, get ready, I'll tell you when to snap. Ready, and take the picture of the screen now. Go ahead, yep, now you can capture that moment forever. Let's take a look at the rest of the bracket. Socorro is the 8, Tucumcari the 9. Those two face each other. Sandia Prep is a 5 seed going up against Dexter. Laguna Acoma the 6 and Santa Fe Indian School the 11. Those 2 teams meet and the winner will take on Hatch Valley. Robertson will await the winner of Navajo Prep and Santa Fe Prep. Only 2 more classes to go. Are you getting excited? Class 4A, the top honor goes to the St. Pius Sartans. They are led by head coach Jordan Russell and are 18-2. Their only setbacks were against Cibola and La Cueva. The Sartans won it all in 2016. Is there pressure being number one again?
I don't know if it puts a target on us, but it does. We've changed our mentality to you have a responsibility rather than pressure. It's just responsibility to, step up to the plate and really show what we've shown all season and not let it go at the end of the year. So our big word this year is responsibility to get things done. I have 3 seniors right now that started with me as sophomores, and they've been through that pain and heartbreak that we've had the past 2 years, and so they just they stepped into tryouts with a new mindset and really saying, like, we're going to get it done because this is what we want to leave our legacy at Pius.
Who else earned a bye with St. Pius? How about Goddard, Artesia, and Portales? They all put together good resumes and earned a top 4 spot. They won't play until the first round sorts itself out. So who's playing in the first round, JP? Well, glad you asked. That's an excellent question. Why don't I show you? Silver and Hope, you are in the field. Academy is the 5 against Los Lunas, the final team in the field. More on that in just a moment. Santa Teresa is a 6 seed, Miamura the 11. Los Alamos and Poake square off with the winner getting Goddard. Now, let's take a look at that last spot, the 12 seed. It came down to a 3-team race between Kirtland Central, Moriarty, and Los Lunas. The reason was Kirtland Central beat Moriarty 3-2 in the criteria points. Los Lunas beat Kirtland Central 3-2 in criteria points, but Moriarty beat Los Lunas 2-1 in criteria points. So you see where it gets a little tricky, right? Again, this is for the last spot in this bracket. So let me break this down criteria point by criteria point. I hope this makes sense. In a 3-way tie, when we break this down, the lowest point total in the end will earn the final spot. It's a 3-way tie, so when we break down each criteria, we have to rank those teams 1, 2, and 3. Let's start with coach's input. Kirtland Central was 15, and Los Lunas and Moriarty finished tied at 12 in the coach's input. So, you see, coaches, those forms make a difference. So Los Lunas and Moriarty each get 1.5 points, and Kirtland Central gets 3. The 1.5 is the average of 1 and 2 points. Does that make sense? Next is the Max Preps ranking. Moriarty was 11, Los Lunas 13, and Kirtland Central 14 in the Max Preps ranking. So we give Moriarty 1 point, Los Lunas 2 points, and Kirtland Central 3 points. Now, on to district finish. Kirtland Central and Los Lunas finished second in their district. Moriarty finished third. So we give Kirtland Central and Los Lunas 1.5 points each, and Moriarty gets 3 points. On to overall record. Kirtland Central's win percentage was .700, so they get 1 point. Moriarty was .609, so they get 2 points. And Los Lunas was .565. Their win percentage was .565, so they get 3 points. Next is wins against district champs. Kirtland Central had 2 wins against district champ. They get 1 point. Los Lunas and Moriarty each had 1, so we give them 2.5 points each. Lastly is head-to-head. Kirtland Central had a loss against Los Lunas, and Moriarty didn't play the others, so Los Lunas gets 1 point, Moriarty gets 2 points, and Kirtland Central 3 points. Now, you add up all those points, Kirtland Central has 12.5 points, Los Lunas with 11.5 points, and Moriarty with 12 points. As I said earlier, the team with the lowest point total on a 3-way tie would be the winner. So Los Lunas earned the last spot in the Class 4A bracket. I know that might sound a little confusing, but it all comes down to the numbers on those criteria points that were voted on by the coaches. Last but not least, Class 5A. The top team in this bracket is the defending state champ, La Cueva. The Bears come into this one with an 18-1 record. They've only lost 1 match in the past 2 years, and that was this year's season opener against Cibola. In fact, talk about dominating, La Cueva has swept their last 11 opponents 3-0 in all of them. Here are the top 4 who get a bye. Centennial's the 2, Cibola the 3, Volcano Vista the 4. As I mentioned earlier, Cibola is the only team to beat the Bears this year. Centennial was in the title game in 2017. They are 21-2 this year. The bracket a lot of you have been waiting for. Cleveland and Oñate is the 8-9 matchup. Santa Fe is the 5 going up against Hobbs. Las Cruces, you are the 6 and will face Roswell in the opening round. Sandia is the 7 going up against El Dorado. Now, a little explanation on this bracket. Hobbs was a regular season district champ. Roswell was a district tournament champ, so they both earned a spot in the field. That left the last slot between El Dorado and Manzano. El Dorado finished higher in coaches' input. Manzano was higher in the Max Preps rankings. El Dorado had a better finish in district and in wins against district champs. The overall record was a push, and they did not play head-to-head, so El Dorado wins on criteria points by a 3-1 count. The Eagles are in, and the Monarchs did not make the field this year. Even though Manzano beat Hobbs and Roswell in criteria points, Hobbs and Roswell get an automatic spot, as I mentioned. So that's how it breaks down in this bracket. Hope that all makes sense. Good luck to all the teams in the field. Remember, it's a double elimination format, no pool play this year, and it all starts on Thursday in Rio Rancho at the Santa Ana Star Center. Thanks for watching our show. Remember to compete with class, and we'll see you on the court.